Hello and welcome back to my channel. It is time for the monthly wrap up. So we're going to go through all the books I read in May. I know we're in a different location today. I woke up feeling not so great, so I figured I'd at least be comfy while I record. This is my bedroom, it's my guest bedroom, but I also have to upload a video and my desk is over here, so we're working with what we've got. So we're going to start off with stats. I know I missed it last month, but I finally got my shit together and updated my story graph, which I really only ever use for the stats. Like my main book app is still Goodreads. I have a Fable as well, but I think I'm just so in my ways with Goodreads at this point that like I just kind of keep using it. But anyways, this month I read 12 books for 3,457 pages. My average time to finish was 2 days, which not surprising because I was doing some vlogs, so I was getting through stuff quicker, and I had a lot of audiobooks, which we'll see later in the stats. My moods were emotional, hopeful, funny, and lighthearted. The pace of everything I read was pretty much around medium pace, except for was this one book. Yeah, one book was fast paced. Even that one, I don't know if that one's considered fast paced, but I feel like that's pretty standard. And then it was pretty close split between my books being between 300, 500 pages, and then less than 300. I read all fiction. Surprise, surprise, which I need to work on because like I did have a goal this month or this year to read at least 5 nonfiction, and I've yet to read one, so I do need to prioritize that a bit. And then my most read genres were romance, contemporary, and then mystery. Interesting. Format, this was definitely, like I said, an audiobook month. 58% I read through audio, and then 33% I read through digital, and then 8% was print. So I was really feeling my Kindle this month. So, and then my average star rating was a 3.59. So it's a fine month. It's not great. Could be better. It really could have been better, but not awful. Now let's get into the actual books I read for the month. The first book I read was The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is a thriller that follows a woman who goes to visit her brother in Paris, but by the time she gets to his apartment, he's not there. And everyone else in this apartment complex is acting like pretty sketchy when she tries to ask about him and like maybe where he went. And everything kind of unfolds from there. I listened to this when I was trying to build my dresser set and my shelves, which I have a video on this channel. And I said in that video I gave this 2 stars. It was fine. I don't know. With me in thrillers, I feel like when they hit, but then when they miss, they miss pretty hard. I don't know. I feel like that's just like I really have like a middle of the road thriller. It's either it's great or it sucks. And I feel like a lot of times for me, I feel like thrillers tend to suck. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not a thriller person, but I do like them when they're good. It's just a lot of the ones I read rarely are. Unfortunately. And I just felt like the twist in this one was boring. I like how everything played out, but I don't know, it was boring. Not much really happened. And I know so many people talked about how like at the midway point of this book there's like a big twist that happens. Not really, because I got to it and it wasn't until I was like 2 or 3 chapters later that I was like, oh, is that it? Because I was still waiting for this like twist to happen at the 50% mark, and then we got past it and I was like, oh, I guess they were talking about this thing that happened. But I was like, but that wasn't even like a giant twist. Was it kind of a twist? Sure. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a hater. I don't know. But also this book doesn't have the greatest reviews, for as I know. I don't think people really liked the Paris Apartment. The next book was Remarkably Bright Creatures, which I gave 4 stars. I also listened to this one on audio. This one was really sweet. This follows a woman who is like at retirement age and she works in an aquarium where there is a like a sentient octopus named Marcellus. And I really loved his character because you get like POV chapters from his perspective, and I really loved those. And he's basically like helping this woman find out the mystery around her son's disappearance. And I don't know, just like their interactions and then the interaction with other characters and like how things came together. I thought it was a really sweet book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. I think I read this over like a day. Actually, I read this while I was cleaning up my apartment because my parents are coming to visit. So another one that I just kind of like fully binged through. And I thought it was really good. I had such a good time with it. And I thought it was such a sweet read. And I do highly recommend it. And like other people, a lot of people recommend listening to the audiobook. I also really recommend because, like I said, you get the octopus's perspective, so you get like his POV chapters, and I thought it was very good. All right, the next 2 books are the only 2 books in this wrap up that I actually own physically, and it is Great Big Beautiful Life and Happy Place by Emily Henry. Let's talk about Great Big Beautiful Life first because I read this one first. This book follows Alice and Hayden, and they're both competing to be able to tell the like life story of this like Hollywood legend. Even though I feel like she was kind of like the Paris Hilton of the 1950s, because she wasn't like famous for anything. It's just like her family like had a lot of money and she was kind of like the wild child at the time. And what was this woman's name? Margaret. And Margaret agrees to kind of, I guess, put them in competition. So she's going to spend a month with each of them and they're going to write up what they have. And then by the end of it, she'll pick someone to write her story. And my issue lies in both the romance plot and the story plot, because you do get excerpts from the story, I think technically Alice's story, what she's writing. And the romance plot lacked me because I personally just didn't really feel the connection between these two. I did enjoy it, but I don't know, I just felt like something was lacking. I never really felt that spark between them, but I did really love their interactions and I loved how they bantered. I love the banter in all of my Henry books, so like that still worked for me. But then with the story plot line, I don't want to like give any spoilers. I just feel like if we had other POVs, it could have worked. And I know with Emily Henry, like you only get the one POV, you get the heroine's POV and that's it. It's just, I feel like the outcome of the story plot line lacked a bit because we only had Alice's POV. And if we'd had more, I definitely think it could have worked and it could have hit more and it could have had a bit more of an emotional impact, but it did struggle for that for me. But even with that saying, like a 3-star Emily Henry is still like a great book. I still love her writing. I still love her stories. So even though this one wasn't my favorite, and I think this one along with Book Lovers both got 3 stars, so they are my least favorite Emily Henrys, but like a bad Emily Henry is still like better than most people. And then my next Emily Henry, Happy Place, which was my final Emily Henry to read for her adult books. I still haven't read any of her YA, but I've read all of her adult novels. I gave this 5 stars. My first ever Emily Henry 5-star, and I'm so happy about it. I don't know what it was, but I always felt like me and Emily Henry were meant to be besties. Like it's meant for me to love her books. It's meant for me to give her a 5-star, and I had yet until this point, and I'm so happy I did. And this was featured in, I think, one of my most recent blogs from last week. So I've give even more of my thoughts in that one. But this follows Harriet and Wynne, who were engaged. They've broken up, but now they're going back to this like cabin with their friends for one final time. And they have to sort of pretend to still be together because they obviously don't want to like ruin the weekend for their friends, because it's kind of like the last time they'll ever be at their happy place. So they try to pretend to be together and like everything's going fine. And I loved this so much, mainly because of the like friendship aspect of this, the way Emily Henry wrote the friendship relationships with this, and the way Emily Henry wrote Harriet. I genuinely felt so called out. Like the way Harriet would react to certain things and like how a lot of things fell apart because how she wouldn't like voice her opinions or voice how she felt about things. I was like, that's me. That's me to a T. Like, and I got so emotional reading it too. It was one of those books where like it really hit me pretty hard. It hit me pretty close to home. And I loved this so much. So definitely my favorite Emily Henry. And I think it's a lot of people's favorite Emily Henry. So if you're going to read one, I definitely recommend this. It was amazing. 5 stars. And I'm so happy about it. The next book I read technically isn't a book. It was just a sneak peek sampler for Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And this was the first 12 chapters of the book, because it comes out, I think, like first or second week of June. But this follows 3 characters at 3 different points. Actually, no, 3 characters. I think it's Maria, Alice, and Lottie. And within the 3 chapters, we didn't really get much of Lottie. We got really much nothing of Lottie, and we didn't get much of Alice, but we got a lot of Maria. And this takes place in like, her perspective takes place in Spain in like, I don't know, the 1700s. I don't remember exactly. Her perspectives, 8 down. I loved the way her mind works and the way she would think about things. I can already tell like the way this is going to go in the book. I think I'm going to love her perspective the most. I just how it's working out. And then I saw someone's review saying it was like sapphic vampires. I don't know if this has vampires, because I don't think in this synopsis it explains like that. It's giving that vibe, but it's definitely sapphic. So that was good. But I'm very excited to read this. I'm pretty sure I've already pre-ordered the book, and I honestly might pre-order the audiobook because I did really enjoy the audio version of this. And the next 6 books I'm going to talk about were all arcs I got through NetGalley. I have a vlog for this coming out next week, so I'm going to be kind of short with most of these. I'm not going to go into detail because I've got almost an hour-long vlog that I'm going to be posting next week about all of these. But I'm trying to get my NetGalley feedback score up so that I can start requesting some very highly sought after arc. But the first one that I read was My Name Isn't Paul. This is a short horror novella, and it basically follows this like insect alien man who they're called mimic people, so they can mimic people, and he finds this guy named Paul basically dead one day, and he mimics him, so now he can like live his life. He like basically wears his skin, and he's gotten so into it that like he basically says, I am Paul, like I'm not this other insect thing. And there's other mimic people around, obviously, but he's kind of ignoring them. And he's like, no, I'm not one of you. I am Paul. My name is Paul. And that's all I'm going to like acknowledge. And after their first like 7 to 10 years, they go through heat, which when they do that, like they don't care about anything else. They pretty much kind of lose their mind. They're only focused on like going through heat. But he's in denial. So he's kind of trying to ignore it, ignore the signs, ignore everything that's happening. And then you kind of see the fallout of everything that happens from that. This book was weird as hell. And I said that in my review. It's just like so weird, but it was really short and it was fun. So I had a good time. If you like a short horror, it's called cosmic horror, and I'm not exactly sure what cosmic horror is, but it was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And, it was one of those quick one sitting kind of reads. So if you're behind on your reading goal, this might be a good one for you. The next book I read was The Starlets, and I listened to this one on audio. This follows two movie stars in like the 1950s, and they are rivals, and they're both casted in the same movie, and they're kind of butting heads at the beginning, but then a crime happens like on the movie set that they are somewhat witness to, and so they have to flee because I guess someone on the movie production is kind of behind some nefarious things that are going on, and now they're like racing across Europe to like run away from these like criminals and like hiding from police because like the police are also in league with them. And it is convoluted as hell. I gave it 3 stars. Actually, I think I gave it 3 stars. I think I rounded up to 3. I think I gave it 2.75. It's convoluted as hell. It is something that you really have to just be like, okay, cool. Like you cannot take it seriously. It is insane. It's bonkers. It makes literally no sense. Even the ending, when you get there, you're like, okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, sure. Why not? Even in the vlog, I say it's basically kind of like the later Fast and Furious movies where you can't take them seriously. Like, cause what are the odds that these people would be in these types of situations? Very slim to none. But so it's fun. Don't take it seriously. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that. The next book I read was Trumpets of Death, another arc. It's a graphic novel. I gave this one another 4-star. This is a trippy graphic novel for sure. We follow a kid who his dad drops him off with his grandparents because his mom has like left and I guess maybe gone missing, and like his dad's trying to like go after her, and the grandma's like happy to see him, but the grandpa kind of doesn't really acknowledge his presence, and when he does, he's kind of a jerk. But at one point they're out like hunting for mushrooms, and this kid touches a mushroom and then like turns into a deer. Whether he's tripping on this fucking mushroom or he's actually a deer, I don't know. Couldn't figure that out. But it was weird, it was trippy, and it was interesting. And the graphic novel has a very like muted, limited color palette, which I thought was very appealing, and it made it very interesting to read. So it was definitely interesting one. It was short. The next arc was Love Unscripted. I gave this 2 stars. I did not enjoy this. Well, here's the thing. I enjoyed the beginning. The end fell apart. This is a fake dating romance between an author and like a movie star, because her book is being adapted into a movie and he's been casted as the lead. And at the beginning of the book, the, I guess, casting agent or whatever calls her to tell her, hey, this guy's going to be in the book. And she is pretty much vehemently like, no, I don't want him in this movie. He's blah, blah, blah. Like she's not holding back as to why she does not want him in this movie. Little does she know he was on speaker with the agent, so he heard everything. And by the time they get to her small town, because that's where they're recording the movie, I guess his management suggests they fake date to like help his reputation, because like I said, he didn't have a good one, and it would also help her like gain fans so that she could have a bit more popularity with like her books, her other books and stuff like that. And to be honest, the first like 60-70% of this book I was enjoying. There was like a caretaking scene between both of them, and I thought it was really funny. I was having a good time. Her brother pissing me off so bad throughout this whole book because he was being kind of a dick about the whole big dating thing. But by the end of the story, it was one of those, like the third act breakup was so stupid because it was one of those things where like something happens, she assumes he did it, and instead of confronting him, having a conversation, something, she just texts him and is like, we're done, blocks him, and then that was it. And that shit pissed me off so bad. I was like, what are you, 15? You're a grown ass woman. Have a conversation with this man. You assume he did something. You have no actual proof. They're just making assumptions. And the brothers all go like, see, I told you he was bad. Oh God. Genuinely, this whole book pissed me off so bad. So bad. So yeah, didn't like it. 2 stars. The next book I read, which is probably, I was about to say it was my highest book for the month, but that's not. It was Happy Place. But my next highest, which is When We Had Wings, I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a World War II historical fiction that follows 3 nurses who were stationed in the Philippines during World War II. And Japan invades the Philippines and they're all like obviously taken as prisoner of wars. And then it takes place over like 3 or 4 years of them being basically under like Japanese control. And this book was really good because it really focused a lot on like their friendship, because the book starts off with them like meeting, and we've established like they get separated and they come back together throughout like the full 4 years of them being together. And I really enjoyed this book, especially like the ending, the last like 100 pages. Really, at numerous different times I started tearing up. Like so many different things just made me cry. And it wasn't even like the sad things that happened, it was also like happy things and like hopeful things by the time we got to the end. And I really enjoyed the ending of this book, and I really enjoyed the relationship between these 3 women and how much their friendship meant to them at the end. And like if I keep talking about it, I'm gonna get emotional. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it so much. And this is a book that was co-authored between 3 authors, Susan Mesner, Kristen McMorris, and Ariel Lahan. And Ariel Lahan was the reason I picked this up, because I also wanted to read The Frozen River, which is by her. I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely, one, made me really want to read it. And it's also made me want to finally pick up and finish The Nightingale, because I have started it, but I just never finished it. But after reading this one that's about World War II and it's about, these female relationships, definitely want a bit more of that. And I feel like The Nightingale is going to give me that between the sisters. So this was a great read, and it's definitely made me a fan of World War II historical fiction, because before this, I didn't really dabble in it. It's not something I ever wanted to try, but like I definitely want to read more of them now. The last arc out of all of these is Automatic Noodle, and this was the first arc that I got approved for, because all the other ones were read now options, so I didn't have to like send out a request. This is the first one I got approved for, and I'm so proud of myself. And I gave this 4 stars. This is a sci-fi novella that follows a bunch of robots who have been like decommissioned, I think after a war between California and the US, because I think California is like annexed from the US, at least that's what I was able to pick up. And they start a noodle shop in California, and someone is like negative review bombing them, and they're trying to figure out who that is, while also trying to start this business and have this business thrive. And I thought it was just a really fun novel, and something I really applaud the author for is that he got me to really care about these robots, because they all have like these different backstories of like how they ended up at California and how they ended up at this shop. And I thought that was really well done. So I gave it 4 stars. It was a good time. I think this gets published in like September, maybe. So definitely recommend if you're interested. Give it a shot. It was a short read. I listened to the audiobook. It was 4 hours. It was a good time. All right, last final book of the month is another graphic novel. It's The Magic Fish. And I thought this one was so sweet because it has like 3 different storylines, but it basically follows a mother and a son, and they like read stories together. You read these fairy tales together, and depending on what POV you're in is like what color palette the graphic novel is. So like red is when we're in with the boy and his mom, that's when we're in that POV. When we're in the mom's past POVs, it has like a yellow palette, and then when we're in the fairy tale, it has a blue palette. And I thought that was very well done, and it's like 3 different fairy tale stories told throughout that like connect back to the mom's story and the mom and the son story, because even during all of that, the son is he's realized he's gay, and he's trying to find a way to tell his mom. And the stories even tie into that. And I thought it was really sweet. I thought it was really well done. And it was definitely emotional as well, too. So I always applaud a graphic novel that really can get to my emotions, because I feel like they have very much less like words to really grip you. It's really just kind of the images and like the few amount of words that are used. And this one definitely did grip me, and I thought it was very well done, and I thought it was really good. So I definitely recommend this one too. Those were all 12 books I read in the month of May. And now we will go through a tentative maybe TBR for June. I don't have many, because I feel like every time I state, hey, I want to read these books, I then don't read those books. So I'm going to keep it light. I'm going to keep it short. And then hopefully I will get to these, fingers crossed. Most of the ones I want to talk about, I've already started. So that's definitely already helped the chances of me starting them. So let's get right into it. All right, the first book we're going to talk about is another arc. that I got approved for. It's my second arc that I got approved, but I got the ebook for The Bone Raiders by Jackson Ford, and this follows a group of raiders who are known as the Bone Raiders because they keep like the bones of their kills and they wear them as adornments. And this follows them. The new Khan of this land is basically trying to wipe out all the raiders, and obviously he has a massive army that he can use against them, and the Bone Raiders are really only a small group. So they come up with somewhat of a plan to use these elephant-sized lizards that can breathe fire, and they want to be able to ride them as like into battle against the Khan and his army, because obviously these massive fire breathing lizards could take out probably an entire army on their own, and that's kind of their way of evening the playing field. And I am 60% of the way through this right now, enjoying it, so I will definitely be finishing that soon. And then I'm also listening to the audiobook for, what's it called, The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, I think that's what it's called. This follows two characters whose names I definitely don't remember right now, but they get married in college so that they could have housing, and so that the hero got access to his trust fund, or like partial of his trust fund. And then they like go their separate ways for 3 years, and then they come back together. Our heroine realized they're still married because that was kind of the stipulation of him getting his inheritance. They had to be married for at least 5 years, but now his family is basically pressuring him to like bring her because they know he's married, but they've never met her in the 5 years they've been married. And so they have to go on this fake vacation. I think it's for his sister's wedding, and obviously pretend to be married and pretend to be in love. And I'm only a couple chapters in so far, but I'm loving it. It is so funny. I know Christina Lauren's books are always pretty funny. I feel like sometimes I tend to underestimate them because some of them I really enjoy and some of them I haven't liked. I know like Something Wilder did not like at all. And then The Unhoneymooners, I definitely have an unpopular opinion. I did not like that book. But the few that I have read, like Soul Man Equation, True Love Experiment, Love in Other Words, hell, even Josh and Hazel's Playlist, I really enjoyed. And I'm really enjoying this so far, and I've heard really great reviews on it, so I do think this is one that I'm gonna like. Now, the next three, I recently made a TikTok about like popular books I started and never finished, and it definitely popped off, and it got a few people upset at me because I didn't finish them, but none of these are DNFs. I had plans to finish them. So let's talk about the few that I'm probably going to try and do this month, because people keep yelling at me in the comments to finish them. And I think the two popular ones, which one I've already mentioned, I already talked about, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This follows two sisters during World War II. I think they're on kind of opposite sides of things that are going on. And obviously, like I said, I already started it, and I'm a good chunk of the way through, but I still got a lot left, and I've got probably the most devastating part of this book left, but I am really looking forward to it. I definitely have had more motivation to get back into this and finish it after reading When We Had Wings, and I think this might be one that I pick up very, very soon. Probably once I'm done with the Bone Raiders, I'll go right into this one, and I think I want to tandem read this one, so I'll listen to the audio and follow along and continue to annotate my way through. And I just know that the ending of this is going to have me in shambles, which, I love crying while reading, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll save the most popular one for last, but the next one that I want to read, another one that I started and hadn't finished, Babel. I know, I say it, I am the biggest R. Kwan stan, but yeah, I've only read The Poppy War. That's all I need. I don't care if you say I'm a fake fan because I've only read the one. I love The Poppy War. However, this book was a bit dense, and by the time you get to the middle book, it does kind of slow down a bit, and my mood changed. I wasn't in the mood for it at the time, but I am going to finish this because Catabasis, her newest release, comes out in August, and I want to finish this with enough like buffer time in between so that it's not like I'm going from one book right into the other, because I don't know if Catabasis is going to be as dense as this one, but I feel like reading it back to back would just be too much for me. So another one I will finish. Another one I'm probably going to tandem read as well. And another one that I think is going to make me cry, because so many people say that like the ending really got to them and it really like devastated them, which, knowing R.F. Kuang, she loves to devastate her readers. So I don't doubt that I'm going to cry with this one as well. So lucky me, I'm going to be crying all month. Speaking of crying, actually, probably the book that got me the most yelled at that I said I hadn't finished, and I didn't get far into it, but I'll just bring it up. It's The Sword of Cayenne. I got 6 chapters into this, which is about 100 pages of the physical copy. I definitely need to finish this. I definitely need to read it. So many people in my comment section were just saying you have to finish Sword of Kagen, you have to keep going. Like, we know like the first part, it's a little slow, but like you'll be locked and you won't be able to finish, and you'll like fly through it to the end. And I know so many people cry reading this book as well. They said that Emma Wang, needs to pay for their therapy, probably the same way Arf Klong needs to pay for my therapy. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's just, again, at the time that I was reading it, I wasn't in the mood for it. And I cannot force myself to read a book I'm not in the mood for, or I end up not liking it. And the last thing I want is to not like this book. It is so hyped. So many people love it. And I feel like I'm going to love it. So now I think it's the time. Again, I feel like once I'm done with the Bone Raiders, which I should be done with in the next like day or two, I think Sword of Kagen is going to be next. I'm going to read it physically on my Kindle because I don't think I want to read the physical book, and I do own the ebook. So I will be reading this, and you'll get my full thoughts in the next wrap up. Or if you follow me on TikTok, you'll get my full thoughts even sooner. But those are all the books I hopefully will get to in June. We'll see. Like I said, I'm a mood reader, so my mood changes pretty quickly, but I'm hoping, since it's such a small list and they are pretty highly anticipated reads for me, that I'll get through them. But yeah, that's everything I read in May and everything I want to read in June. Thank you for watching the video. I hope to see you in the next one. And the next one is, like I said, going to be the ARCs vlog from NetGalley. So I hope you enjoy that. And I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.